Good morning, everyone. I'm Barry Cowan, the president of Deerfield Beach Computer Club, now in my 18th year. Want to welcome you all. Spring is already here, and I want to wish a happy Passover or happy Easter, whichever is applicable to those who are here. And if it's anyone else, a different holiday, have a nice day. I am now Zooming live from my second bedroom in my new condo. And we're hoping to have a great season. We're going to be doing 2 Zoom classes a month throughout the summer, as best as we can. And hope that you will be attending and using you will be using the chat room, by the way, if you have any comments or questions, to post it there, because everyone will be muted during Jerry's presentation. As a matter of fact, I may as well introduce him right now so we can get moving. Jerry Rogan is president of the Sun Springs Village Technology Group in Mesa, Arizona. He served in the United States Air Force as a software engineer. He has extensive background in technology. He was president of Universal Services of Iowa and international sales manager for Eagle Technology. And he did give an excellent presentation on Apple to this club back in November of 2022 on Apple devices, the iPhone and the iPad. So let's give a warm sitting ovation to today's special guest, Jerry Rogan.
Thank you, Barry. Thank you, guys. Good to be back. Barry, when you get your music room all set up and you decide to do a Zoom concert, make sure I get a link to that, will you?
Sure. I've got to practice a lot because, you know, moving your fingers from an 88 key down to a 76 is still a problem, but I'm working on it.
Well, it's kind of like going from a Windows laptop to a Macintosh. We have a smaller keyboard, and it's a little tough to get used to. So,
absolutely, yep.
All right, let me go ahead and start my screen.
Go ahead.
All right, I'm going to get rid of some of the, there we go. I hope you can all see that all right. Barry, can you see the opening screen all right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, what this presentation is a simple introduction to Apple's pages, numbers, and keynotes. You know, basically, when you look at, we've all used Microsoft Office, I'm sure, in the past. We're like Pages is Apple's version of Word. Numbers is Apple's version of Excel. And Keynote is Apple's version of PowerPoint. So we're kind of comparing the two of them. Which will you require, Office or Apple's? Well, you have to look at your needs. If you're in the corporate world, it requires some of the very advanced features of Microsoft Office applications, or you're exchanging documents with coworkers frequently, the question is probably already answered. However, since Apple applications can save documents in Office format, and you are using an Apple iPad, iPhone, or Macintosh, you'll certainly want to take a look at the Apple applications. If you use an iPhone, iPad, or Macintosh, then Pages, Notes, and Keynote are very capable applications and do offer many of the advanced features of Microsoft Office. Unlike Office, Apple applications offer very uncluttered toolbars. But if you're used to Office, there may be a slight but intuitive learning curve. And again, anything you create in Page, Numbers, or Keynote will be saved in Microsoft Office formats. Now, I've intentionally created this presentation with Apple Keynote just so you can get an idea of what can be done. And it's a fairly simple presentation. The other thing that you have to consider is budget. Most of you look like seniors to me, and I'm a an old frugal senior myself, for Microsoft Office 365, you can pay $79.99 a year. And that'll get you, I think they call that the professional version. For $60 a year, you can get the personal version. And for $119.99 a year, you can get it, you can buy one-time purchase Office 2016. I think they've increased that to 2019 now. I probably need to update that. The Apple applications are all free. If you own an iPhone, an iPad, or a Mac, you already have these applications and there's no subscription fee or anything else. I have learned when you get these applications and you take a few minutes just to learn them, I really have no need for Microsoft Office anymore. One thing you want to look at is a comparison to Office. The top of this screen shows you the Microsoft Word toolbar. The bottom half of the screen shows you the Apple Pages toolbar. And I've noted from my old eyes, I know which one I prefer, but that's entirely up to you. All of the functionality that Microsoft has in their toolbar is actually duplicated in the Apple toolbar below. So it's much easier, a cleaner application to look at, and much easier to use. Now we'll look at Pages first. I'm going to try and move something on my screen so I can see a little better. Okay, when you first create a new document in Pages, which is the comparable to Microsoft Word, you of course can choose a template to begin with. And if we look at this, you'll see there are numerous templates for reports and books and cards and certificates, envelopes, business cards, flyers, letters, and even books. I've written a few books and I've done them all in Apple Pages. And if you look at a few of these pictures here, you'll see how sophisticated this application can be. You can write a simple letter. My handwriting has gotten so bad as I've gotten older, I almost could pass as a physician. But so occasionally I'll use Pages just to write a letter to my grandkids, and then I'll write a hand note at the bottom of it or something. So there's a lot of capability here. Whoops. There we go. One of the things that Pages was missing for a while, and it now has, is mail merge. So if you're doing Christmas card lists, sales promotions, newsletters for the club, or whatever it might be, you now have mail merge, so you can mail that out to your entire list at one shot. It's a very nice feature, and it's one that I use with our computer club here in Arizona. I'm going to take a sip of coffee here because it's early in Arizona, guys.
Yeah, I know.
That gives me a reason to take a nap later on. So, okay, I want to get rid of that. I've got a few things on my screen that are blocking my view. Okay. Some of the tools you'll find in Pages. You start a new document and you create a blank document. If you click on the top left menu, you'll see View Options. And you can turn on page thumbnails. You can see 2 pages at once. You can see your word count. I tend to use ruler and smart annotations only. If I move to the right, you'll see that I've clicked on the paintbrush. That allows me to modify my text in any way that I want. Justifications, formats, sizes. Very, very simple to change your fonts and so forth. Now, if I come back to the bottom left and I click on the three lines in the toolbar, I can put in a table of contents if I'm writing a book or a long report. So there's a lot of tools available. And as you can see, instead of scrunching them all into one little toolbar, we've got these drop downs. Much easier on the eyes, much easier to use. Then there's more tools. Again, if I click on the paintbrush, I can select what kind of style I want. Title, subtitle, heading, and so forth. If I click on the plus sign, that's where I can insert a photo or a video. I can take a picture with a camera, record audio, do a web video, insert from a file, do a drawing or an equation. Again, these are very powerful tools that you don't need to see on the toolbar all the time, but when you want them, they're available to you. Now, again, if I press on that plus sign, I can add, even though this is like a Word document, I can add a table in there if I wanted to put some budget information or cost information or what have you. And you can select the size of your table, which is very critical. You can select arts. If you look on the right side of the screen, there's a lot of clip art that you can go to. Some educational things, some science, just a lot of tools available to you. I wish I could see all of you right now because I'm curious how many of you use Pages at all.
I just opened up Pages on my iPad. I'm not seeing the same headings. I tried to just open as a classic letter. And for example, I'm not seeing that plus sign in the heading at all.
Okay.
I have not worked with Pages. I usually do documents in Word. But I noticed that on the iPad, when they get saved, I can't make changes to them. So I thought that might have something to do with the fact that an iPad is an Apple product. I don't know.
If you're saving it as a Microsoft Office document, you will not be able to make changes. You actually have to save it as a Pages document or a Numbers document in order to make the changes. The other question I might have for you is, are you pretty sure you have the latest version of Pages? It's
whatever came on this iPad, and it's not a very old iPad. It's just 1 or 2 years old.
Okay, well, there's probably been a couple of upgrades to Pages since you bought it then.
So go up to the Apple Store and look at search for Pages and see if it says open or whatever. It may not have, it may need to be updated. You can do that also. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I am seeing the plus sign when I'm just at a general Pages thing, but not in a document at all. Okay, go on with the discussion.
Yeah. Well, it may depend on what kind of document you are open to, so
right.
I'm not sure. Okay, so there's the circle with the 3 dots on the top right of the toolbar is another menu where you can share a document you're working on with somebody else. You can export it. Now, if I click on export, you'll see the next menu in the middle of the screen. You can export that to a PDF document, a Word document, plain text, rich text format, or as a Pages template if you want to create your own template that you might use monthly with different information, but you want the template, you can save it that way. That's a fairly strong feature in itself. If you choose to share a document, of course, you come up with the standard share screen where you can send it by messenger, mail, DuckDuckGo, Facebook, whatever you want to do. But from this menu, you can also print. You can do a smart annotation. You can change tracking, book. There's so much you can do. Here's your mail merge. You can set a password for the document. Just a number of different things that you can do with that. But again, this is where you would hit export. And you could go to Microsoft Word and save it as a Word document. But if you do that, know that when you open that document up with Pages, you will not be able to edit it. You'll have to open it in Pages. Now, those of you who may be looking at your computer, if you look at the top of the keyboard at the bottom of the screen, you're going to see some additional toolbars available. So instead of Apple cramming everything at the top, they're using the top toolbar, they're using the bottom above the keyboard and so forth. So you've got indent, tabs, fonts, font sizes. You can insert comments, page breaks, line break, section break. So these are all the tools that you have available on Microsoft Windows. They're also available in Apple Pages. It just may be in a different location. These are a few of the documents that have been created in Pages, and you can see they can get, fairly elaborate. Now, I would like to say here, if you have any questions, you can either ask them, since we're such a small group. I think there's 14 or 15 of us.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can use the chat, and Barry can interpret them when we're all done. So,
or you can just click the raise hand icon, which will let us
raise
know
hand.
that you want to be recognized.
Yep.
You can do that now. Anyone have any questions on this portion? Please raise your hand now. Okay.
Looks like you got more people in the waiting room, Barry.
Oh yeah, we do.
Well, mine just told me we did 3.
I don't see them in here. Wait a minute. Let me get them in here. Hold on. Nope, I don't see anybody else there.
Okay. Well, that was a brief.
Oh yeah, I do.
That was a brief introduction into Pages. And I do suggest I think most of us that I saw here are retired, but take a little bit of time to familiarize yourself with Pages. I think you'll be surprised at the capability. And I think you'll be a little surprised at the simplicity in which you can get certain things done as opposed to Word. Now, if you've worked on Word your entire career, that statement is totally untrue. I know. You guys know Word inside now. Okay, the Microsoft Excel versus Apple numbers. The difference between Word and Pages are somewhat significant, but both pretty much accomplish the same thing. I can't really say the same thing about Excel and numbers. Each has its own strong suit.
Dorothy, you raised your hand. You have a question?
Yes, could you download Pages on a regular PC? Or does it have to be an Apple product?
Yeah, it's an Apple product.
Okay.
It's a mobile product, yeah.
Yeah, you can use it on Mac operating system, Ventura. You can use it on iOS 16 or whatever Apple device you have, iPhone or iPad.
I see another hand raised. Anyone else have a question? Oh, Irving.
Yes, I'd like to ask, what is the lowest iOS number you could use it on an iPad?
Yeah, good. I'm not, excuse me, I'm not certain of that. I think you can go back.
I've got an oldie.
How old is it?
iPad 2.
iPad 2? That thing
Yeah.
belongs in the Smithsonian. I'll be honest with you. I really can't answer that question. I have no idea.
What was the question again, Irving? Would you want to repeat it to me?
But you know what? For about $300, you can get a newer iPad. So.
Well, mine's just a few years old. Does just everything I need. It's just the 10.2 inch, and it does everything I need. Just make sure it's updated to the latest software version.
When I was CEO of a software company, I always had to have the latest and greatest of everything. And I found out the last time my iPad was giving me fits was about 3 years ago. I just went and bought one of the cheap 10-inch iPads, and it does everything I need to do. So yeah, you can't upgrade for a modest amount of money.
I have the iPad 8th generation, and I'm sure it wasn't very expensive because my husband gave it to me for my birthday.
That's cheap. That's the way to get it.
Now,
did he give you the warranty too? Okay, and a kiss?
They first gave us an iPad for our 50th anniversary, and it hasn't been out of my hands since.
Yeah, yeah. But usually the husband will pass down his old iPad so he can get a new one. So you're lucky you got a new one.
Yes.
That's what I call techno love.
Okay.
Okay, proceed.
Do play with Apple Pages. If you dedicate just a little bit of learning time to it, I think you'll really be pleased with it. But you do have, there is a slight learning curve if you're used to Microsoft Word, and who of us isn't? I have lived in the Apple ecosystem now for about 7 years. And I have to do a presentation in April comparing the Macintosh to a Windows 11 machine. Oh. I've got to find a friend that's got Windows 11 because I could barely remember how to spell Windows, let alone operate it. So,
well, our expert is Bob Gastisha, if you know him. Yeah, he's an expert on Windows 11.
Yep.
Contact him.
Getting back to the Apple numbers versus Excel. Mm-hmm. If you're working on extremely large spreadsheets in the corporate world, Excel would clearly be the software of choice. I'm not going to argue with that. But an example would be that Excel has over 400 functions spread across 11 categories. Numbers has 242 functions in 10 categories. It's not a huge deal unless you're that large corporate user. I have learned in my life everything that I have to do on a spreadsheet. Apple Numbers handles just great. Whoops. Again, one more comparison to Excel. The top is the Microsoft Excel toolbar. Not quite as cluttered as the Word, but there's still a lot there. The bottom half of the screen shows the Apple's numbers toolbar. Again, the simplicity is there. The icons of the formatting of the paintbrush and the plus sign and everything are very similar to Pages. So once you master Pages, numbers should not be any problem at all. And like Pages, when you open a new Excel document, you have the opportunity to choose a template. And if you just look at some of these icons, you can see they can get fairly elaborate, but you can have basic templates, personal finance, which could include budget, savings, your stock list of stocks and so forth.
Excuse me, Jerry, when you open one, I mean, how do you open the screen? Isn't there a plus somewhere on the bottom? There's a plus sign that lets you open it or something?
No, you simply start up the Numbers application, Barry.
Okay. Yeah, I've got a spreadsheet on that I use for budgeting. Okay.
Yeah, just once you open the Numbers application, you can choose a new template or you can open an existing file, whatever you prefer.
Okay.
And if you look at some of these icons, you'll see there's a lot of graphics. Apple is very strong in graphics, has been since day one. When I used to program for when the Macintosh first came out, we had a monster computer called the Lisa. That's how we had to write programs for the Macintosh.
Yeah.
We couldn't do a lot of these things back then, so we're catching up with Excel.
You can thank one of my ex-employees for a whole lot of your Apple advantages. We had a kid who worked for us in the early 1980s when he was 15, and he grew up to be one of Apple's key people, vice president, close friends with the head of it. And he did an enormous number of the things for Apple.
Yes, yeah, Google. That's cool.
Yeah.
You know, I worked with Apple many, many years ago, before Macintosh days on the Apple computer. We had some applications. I don't even remember what it was called now, but we had word processors and so forth, and I worked on some of those for a couple of years. And Apple has an interesting history. Going forward, I have to be honest with you, I did see a Windows 11 machine the other day, and I did a presentation with one of our other APC UG speakers, and I was surprised how much Windows is starting to look like Macintosh.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I've learned is Windows has always worked off of control panels. Well, they're now going to a settings menu, very similar to what we have on the iPad and the Mac and the iPhones. So there's kind of a convergence going on a little bit. And I'm glad to see that. I really am. I've been doing this so long that I started programming when we didn't have monitors. We just had the old teletype machines and key punch operators.
Well, I talked to a tech support person the other day, but he had to pause because he was changing his diaper.
Well, you know, one of my jokes when I give presentations is, if you need any assistance, call one of your grandkids.
That's
or
right.
Getting old enough now, we can call our great grandkids. I love the story that the lady told about her great granddaughter holding her hand and telling her there was a step and so forth. It's funny how they take over like that. So,
okay, on we go.
Yeah. For what it's worth, though, I have a 5-year-old and a 9-year-old great granddaughter, and they're wizards at the iPads and iPhones. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So here we go with a blank spreadsheet. And yes, you can have more than one sheet per spreadsheet. When numbers first came out, you could only have one sheet. And now there's no limit to it. So, and again, if you look at the toolbar, very, very simple. You've got your formatting tools, your plus sign, and so forth, all very, very similar to Pages. If you click on the paintbrush, you can then click on table and select what kind of table you want: colors, headers, footers, rows, how many columns, and so forth. You can click on a cell to format a cell. So there's just a lot of things you can do from a very simple menu. Again, here they're clicking on cell. That's where you can set your font, your size, your text color, your justification. You can wrap text in a cell if you want. So anything that Excel can do, you can pretty much do here as well. Now, again, similar to Pages, this tool has a lot of functions. Here we can format numbers, there's currency, percentage, date and time. You can use scientific notations. You can use fractions.
Oh. How do you make the column wider?
Oh, somebody turn that off before I have you shot down.
I'm sorry, I missed the question though.
How? Oh my.
Somebody's got audio feedback, please. Turn it off.
Maybe that's me.
Okay. You've got an echo there, so turn it off, turn it off, turn it off. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Turn it off 3 times.
Okay.
So again, the toolbars are very functional. You just have to take a few minutes to click on it, study what's there, and then, of course, at our age, then we have to try and remember what's there. But if we don't, we can click on it and find out again. So,
are these basically iPad screens, Jerry?
I'm sorry?
Are these basically iPad screens? I mean, the iPad is a better device to use, of course, than the iPhone because it's larger. You can see a bigger picture of all of this.
Yeah. I use my iPad. I'll be honest with you, I hardly ever use my Mac anymore. I might fire it up 2 or 3 times a month. Otherwise, I'm doing everything on a 10-inch, $350 iPad.
We have a question from Judy Brown. How do you make the column wider?
Just like you do on Microsoft Excel, you go up, if you look in this middle of the screen, you'll see a little line between like A and C because we've hidden the column there. If you click on that line, you can then slide it one way or another, or you can format that cell to be, you could say fit to largest entry or whatever you want to do. But you can slide it over using this line like between the A and C, or you can format the cell to a certain width. And again, let me back up one screen. Yeah. Okay. Again, when you click on the circle with the 3 dots in it, you can export PDF. You can go to Excel, comma separated values, tab separated values, or you can create a new numbers template. I use numbers. One of the things I do with it, I keep I guess I'm a little paranoid about this, but I keep a spreadsheet of all my investments and assets and banks, and for the sole purpose of if something not if something happens to me, but when something happens to me, my kids can get into it and see where everything is, who to contact, and so forth. I do all that with numbers. I don't use Excel anymore. Okay. Now here, you can, bottom right corner, you can click on cell and you can put in current date, current time, a new formula, stock quotes, whatever you want. There's a lot of tools that you may not use, but if you ever need any of these functions, I just want you to know that they're there. I think it's easier to enter formulas using numbers than I do Excel. Only because when you click on a cell, you can name that cell, medical budget minus actual medical, and come up with your difference. To me, that's a lot easier than saying B6 minus C6 and that sort of thing. I actually can see the name of the formula. So something else to consider. If you bring up the keyboard, of course, you've got tools at the top for entering different notations. We talked about sharing files. You can add people to the iCloud Drive and share with people for collaboration or whatever you might need to do. I think most of us at this age probably don't do much of that, but if you're still working and you need to share a document with somebody, you can certainly do it where they can make modifications and send it back to you and so forth. Spreadsheets can have many uses. How many of them we need at our age, I'm not certain. But for example, I mentioned that I do a balance sheet, and this is not my balance sheet, but mine is very similar to that. And I may have used that template to create mine. I've had it so long I don't recall. But I keep track of all of my insurance policies, all of my bank accounts, all of my investments. And at the bottom of it, I list all of my attorney's name and phone number and my CPA's number. You can do things like that. And at this age, I think that's important for most of us to do for our family. But if you're going to remodel your kitchen or something, if you look on the right side of the screen, you can create an entire spreadsheet where you can put in your budget, what the actual cost is and the difference. And of course, you can have summary charts to look at. At this age, charts are wonderful. I love looking at a chart. It gives me a lot better picture than looking at a list of numbers. But those are some of the things that you can do with numbers. And again, you can use the chat for questions, or you can raise your hand, click on
Jerry, can I assume all of this is secured with your Apple password?
Yes. It can be, doesn't have to be. If somebody gets on your iPad and you have not assigned a password to a document, be it pages, numbers, or whatever, they can get in and see it. You have the option to put each document under a password. Yes.
How did you create the pie chart? Judy Brown wants to know.
Let me back up and see if I've got it.
Yeah, down in the...
Yeah, basically what you do is you select the cells that you want in the pie chart by dragging through them. And then you can go up to, I believe it's format, and create a chart off of that. It's all, whether it's a pie chart or a bar chart, it really is very simple. I have to put on my thinking hat and go back to the last class I taught on this, where we had a class just on numbers, and that's what we did. But you just drag through the numbers, click on the format icon at the top, and select pie chart, bar chart, whatever you want. Again, this is an introductory class, and it, you know, it sounds foolish, but sometimes we get so many. This is my fourth presentation this week. Sometimes I get confused about what's happened in the past, but and it's early in Arizona. But no, go ahead and get into numbers, play with the menus, create a pretend spreadsheet, play around with it. I think in very short order, you would become accustomed to what's done and how it's done. It really is all very, very simple.
I do my monthly budget on it. So I have a record of every expense that I've got from the banks, from the credit cards. Everything is listed there, so I know exactly what it is. And this would be great for tax purposes. You'll have a live document that you can use for your taxes.
Absolutely. I keep a simple spreadsheet on home improvements because in Arizona, it's my vacation home. When I sell it, I'm going to have capital gains to pay unless I keep track of all my improvements and expenses. I do all of that on a number spreadsheet.
And all your golf stuff.
I'm sorry?
And all your golf clubs and everything.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Golf cart and everything else. You bet. I still just for a side note, I still manage to golf about 4 times a week. So I'm pleased with that. Although I'm jealous because you guys in Florida have had a bit of a warmer winter than we've had in Arizona this year. This has been a rather cool, damp winter for us.
I've heard. We're looking at 90 degrees the end of this week.
Yeah, at the end of this week, we may hit 80, but for the most part this winter, we've been 50s and 60s, which is most unusual.
Okay.
Okay. So as you can see, again, there's plenty of power in numbers. Get in there, click around, investigate. Someday, if you guys want a presentation on just numbers or just pages, we can certainly do that for you. Okay, as I mentioned, this is the keynotes part of it. When you create a new keynote presentation, like pages and numbers, you have to, or you don't have to, but you have the opportunity to choose from a template. As I mentioned earlier, I've created this entire presentation using Keynote. I did not use Microsoft Excel at all. And you can see some of the different—
You mean PowerPoint?
Or PowerPoint, right. No, I created this all on Keynote. Okay. Yeah, I did not use PowerPoint for this presentation. I have converted it to PowerPoint. I do use it once in a while that way, but the actual application, the actual presentation was done with Keynote. So if you have to do something like some kind of presentation for your card club or PTA or whatever it might be, don't be afraid to use Keynote. It's very simple. It has an enormous amount of templates that you can choose from to get you started. Just a very, very nice, simple presentation type program. One thing I don't like about Keynote is Apple, as most of you know, has a dark mode. Keynote is only presented in dark mode. You don't have the white background. So sometimes things are a little difficult to read, especially as our eyes get a little older. That top toolbar, the blue on the black to me is difficult to read. But when you look at it in full-size screen, you can see it becomes easier to read. So I just wanted to point that out. I also wanted to show you how I can bring an arrow on the screen and make it flash just as part of the presentation. Okay, and then again, remember, any of these applications can be exported to Microsoft Office. So if you're doing some kind of expense report or budget or a balance sheet and you want to share it with your kids or whatever, and they just have Microsoft Office, export it to Microsoft Office and they can have a full view of it. Okay, that concludes the introduction to Pages, Numbers, and Keynotes. I thank you for letting me show this. And I'm now going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen and see if y'all have any questions.
Okay, great. Let's give Jerry a sitting ovation for an excellent presentation. Thank you.
You bet.
You want to tell them how, if they have any questions, they can reach you by email or other means?
Yeah, if you have any questions, my email is very simple. It's jerryrogan@gmail.com. You got me a little excited at the beginning because they were talking about exotic, erotic, erratic. I'm thinking, what kind of group am I talking to here? You guys are all okay, I'm telling you. Okay.
Right.
jerryrogan@gmail.com. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. And again, I thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you, Jerry.
You bet. If you don't mind, I'll stick around and just watch what else you have going on, Barry.
Yeah, we might do a few interesting things here in a little bit. I want to tell everybody that you'll find extensive resources on this on Apple's site, apple.com, and there's tons of YouTube videos on how to use Pages, Numbers, and Keynote. And I, of course, can vouch for the excellence that they provide, and it's much easier than using Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, as you've seen. Okay, I want to talk about a couple of things that are very important to me. As you know, I have gone through a very personal issues over the last few months, and things that have kept me going at this club. And I swore that I would not let it fall. And thank you all for those who are attending and keeping it afloat, because you are the glue that's keeping this club together. I developed a flyer recently, which I gave to Pete Zambito, who is in Century Village. Pete put them in the staff office. They're in there right now in one of the rows there. I encourage you to go in and grab them. I also sent you a PDF, a portable document file of the flyer that you can print out on your own computer. In the last week, I've printed out a bunch. I've dropped them in restaurants, put them on the bulletin boards in the next to the grocery store. I dropped them in Walmart, every place I could possibly find. I brought them to the gym along with my business card. So we're doing everything we can to get everybody involved. I'm looking at what we call hybridization in the future. That means that if you get a lot of members, you can not only work through the standard Zoom meeting, but you can go onto YouTube, which means it makes it very easier for someone like me than having to go through, download the presentation, set it up, get it uploaded to YouTube, to our class videos, and then check it out, get it published and everything else, assuming there's no copyright hits or violations. We may be inviting other clubs very shortly to participate. Do any of you have any other ideas that you could think of to boost the membership of the club? I'm open to your suggestions. Yes, Marcia.
For those of us in Century Village, it might be useful to put the flyer on the bulletin boards. I know my building has a bulletin board by the elevator, single, it's not a big place. And probably other buildings do also. I'll get one from the clubhouse and I'll put it on my building.
Great. And of course, there are some rules in certain condos that they don't allow those postings. So you've got to be very careful and check with your condo president to see what they do or do not allow to be posted on their boards. I'm also thinking of putting that into the local newspapers again. I understand we have an online Deerfield Beach Observer. I'm thinking of sending it into the local newspapers in Deerfield, also in Boca, into the Pelican, in Pompano Beach, which we used to advertise in for free. We didn't pay a penny, and they may be willing to do something since we're considered to be a charity organization. They may be able to help us out. Are there any other suggestions that anyone has?
Yes, there's an app called Neighbors, and it dictates different neighborhoods that people live in and what's going on there. And everyone could put it into their own neighborhood posting regarding, after I see what you want posted, what information you want to disclose, I can post it on the neighborhood that I'm a part of.
That's right.
Yes.
You could go to Neighborhood, which is a social media, you can go to social media and post it on Facebook. You could post it on whatever it is. I have nothing to hide there. I don't mind shameless self-promotion, and I think it'd be good for the club to get a whole bunch of members in. And I'm going to be I contacted 10 presidents already the other week to see what they're doing. And they're going to be, looking at the same kind of thing to boost their membership. Some of them, like the Sarasota Club, are already have big memberships. But our goal is to get quality membership, not necessarily quantity. Speaking of quality, here's Mike Reeves. Are you back from España?
No, still in Spain.
Oh my goodness.
I'll only be here. I'm going on Sunday, so I'm home on Sunday. But I'll only be here for. I've got to leave early. I've got a meeting or I'm talking to her sister. So.
Okay.
And anyway, it's on Apple. Is it on Apple today? And I haven't got Apple, so I'm.
Well, I'm glad you attended. And Irving, you're going to be going back to Ottawa, I guess, at the end of the month, right?
That's right, Barry. Leaving next Friday.
Okay. Well, we wish all the snowbirds are going to start to be leaving now as the season comes in. That's going to make, I don't know if it's going to make traffic any better out here because a lot of people are still staying here, but we don't have the pandemic anymore. So we're going all back to pre-season, pre-pandemic season activities. That's going to be very interesting. Anyone else have any suggestions on how we can boost our membership?
Barry, I have a question. How many times can a person listen in without becoming a member also? Because that could slow down people. Maybe they don't want to become a member, but they're willing to listen. But that may not be something you want.
Well, yeah, a lot of people have problems using a phone or something else. They're coming in on their phones and there's something wrong with it. We don't have any problem with that. They're still considered audio members. Remember, they have a choice to turn off their video when they join or simply use audio. So we had members today that had problems with their audio, but they were still listening on. I know some of them may still be here or not, but they're still considered members based on the number of meetings that they participate in. If it were up to me, I would go back to the classroom. I'm not afraid anymore because the pandemic restrictions have been lifted. And of course, I have only problem is getting into a whole bunch of extra expenses that we just aren't able to afford now because we haven't taken in a dollar since June of 2020. See, all these Zoom classes are free, and we still have to pay out for our expenses for a variety of reasons. So I've got a big headache here, you know, trying to make things meet along all ways. Okay, let's see what we can look at right now. I'm going to share my screen and see what we got for the iPhone today. Now you can do all this, of course, on the iPhone or the iPad. I'm going to share the screen. Let me know if you see it. It takes a second to come up. There we go. You see that? I got to move the screen away a little bit. Hang on a second. There we go. Can you all see that?
Yes.
Good. Okay, let's just look at some general stuff. You know, iOS 16.4 is going to be out soon. We expect another Apple announcement on an event of iPhone 15. And I've still got my 13 Pro Max from I guess a year and a half ago. It's still got 94% of its battery life. So it's not really worth trading in until it gets down below 80%. If that happens, you will find that everything slows down on your complete device when your battery is not working properly or it's too low to recharge itself. We've talked about the battery umpteen million times, but in the settings, how will we find out? Who can tell me, how do we find out which version of iPhone you have and whether or not there's a software update available? How would you do that? What do I go to next? You tell me. How about general? And if I click software update, it tells me I'm on the latest one, 16.3.1. I recommend that you leave it this way. Download iOS updates, install them, and the security responses and system files are some you must install along with these updates. Now, when an update usually is coming in, it will slow down your computer a little bit because it's rearranging all the software, and you'll find that all the apps you have will not be updated necessarily. You'll have to go in and you look at what? Who can tell me? What do I look at? You tell me what to do. Anybody? How do I see what's going on? Wouldn't I go to Apple? And I might go to the App Store. And there is my profile picture in the top. If I click on that, it now shows me what's been updated recently. If there's something that needs updating, it will say right down here and will ask you to either update them all or update them individually. So that's how you find it. If you have any subscriptions to anything, here's the way to find that.
How did you set that account setup up on the App Store?
Well, it's simple. You just go to the App Store on your Apple device, okay? Then you go to the upper right-hand corner where your profile picture is, and you click on that, and it works itself. It comes up with recommendations. It will tell you automatically which ones have been opened. If it says open, they've already been updated to the newest. And that happens when you have a new operating system. The apps tend to fall, you know, away. The architecture usually doesn't catch up with the technology, just like in real life, IRL, as they say. So what you need to do is make sure that your apps are all updated to the latest versions. That way you're good.
Thank you.
Did you all see that? All right, good. You're welcome. There's Keynote. I use that, and I use the other ones. I may just do a presentation totally on Keynote. I use a spreadsheet for the numbers for my spreadsheet substitute. And I use an iPad because you want to see something that's a wide screen. An iPhone is just too small a screen for some of these applications, but you can always turn them, you know, horizontally or something on your phone. Just turn them around. And so you have a horizontal rather than a vertical picture. And here's another question I received. Hey, you know, Barry, here's the control center. How come I can't when I turn my phone, it still stays in portrait mode? It doesn't go to the wide mode. Well, that's because you got the portrait lock on. Now, if you try to turn the phone, it'll stay that way. Watch. Okay.
That was something my employee, Mike Colbert, did for the computer world.
And now you unlock it and you're right back where you are. See, the portrait is off. So now people say, hey, my phone's not working. Well, because you got the portrait lock on. Everything's going to show 4:3 as opposed to 16:9, which is usually the wide configuration. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Whoa. Did you know you can find a lot of things in entertainment? I have, here's the ones I have. I have DirecTV streaming in this condo, which is amazingly good. I have just 300 megabits of internet speed, and that's enough to run this meeting right here, 300. I used to have 1,000 where I lived before. That's overkill. You only need 25 megabits per second to run Netflix. So these cable companies are real ganas, thieves. They're trying to steal your money by making you upgrade to to get one channel, you have to upgrade to a completely new package. Thank God they have TCM on DirecTV. Right now they're running all the Oscar movies from March 1st to March 31st. So if you have TCM, you're in luck. Otherwise, you'd have to pay for it, but it's an amazing thing. I have a Roku. I can actually run the Roku off of the iPhone because there's an app for all of these things. There's Pluto TV, which is probably the most popular of its kind on the entire internet. It's all free. Okay. And by the way, about looking up Apple devices and things, you could go to apple.com or YouTube videos. You all know how to get there, right? Here's the club. And I wanted to talk to you about, let's see if I can find it here. It's moved around. To tell you what's coming up and why we're expecting a huge, huge crowd. Let's see, here we are. Okay. Here's the club, and guess who's coming next in 2 weeks? Look at this. Our first ever class in genealogy. You asked for it, and I'm bringing it to you. Sue Mueller is one of the major experts on genealogy in the entire country, and I was able to get her through the APCUG Speakers Bureau. She's going to be coming. I expect a very high turnout here. And if you want to promote this, I would suggest you do it. When you go talk to somebody, tell them about the club site. Tell them what it is. Some people don't even know what it is. And I've made sure I put it into the April 2023 reporter. It's in there, and it should be published as soon as you receive it in your condos and the printed version. Following that, we're going to have Judy Talor on the 21st. She's presenting What's Cooking, an introduction to automation in the kitchen. There's so many devices that people have now that some they don't even use. I saw an article recently saying that many people do not take advantages of home automation. You know, talking refrigerators, mixers, everything else. We've shown you that. And sometimes the devices can have conflicts in them and get very confusing to use. So that's going to be a very interesting presentation as well. And look at all this stuff I had here. Remember, please, to visit our site regularly. Subscribe to our videos. All you have to do is go up to the right-hand corner, whether it be mobile or a non-mobile device. You click on the YouTube, it takes you to our YouTube page. You look at a video, and when you go to the right-hand corner of it, you're going to see a pop-up of our logo and the red subscribe. If you click on that, we get credit for subscribing. The more subscriptions we get, the more visibility we get on Google. Right now, if you went into Google and typed Deerfield Beach Computer Club, we're pretty much at the top rank because we've done so many presentations. I think this is my 147th in 18 years. So I'm really tired. I just flew in from Chicago and boy, am my arms tired, I'm telling you. So that's where we stand. So get everybody involved. Contact them by social media. There's no reason you can't post that. I'm going to be posting the PDF on Facebook, on Twitter. I can post it anywhere there legally. There's nothing wrong about doing that. Getting social media involved is a great way to get anything these days. So not on TikTok, sorry. I'm not going to be, I don't contribute to the 150 million users. We might also have our individual balloons that can be shot out as members. So who knows?
Oh.
It's too controversial for me to use. Agree?
Barry, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So where were you just a second ago when you were on your club site? There's no icon for our club, but it looks like
we can make one very easily.
There is an icon for our club?
Sure.
Where?
Right there. See it?
No. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, okay, back off. Let me see what you did.
Okay.
Okay,
there
so I can put that on my phone then?
Absolutely.
Oh, I didn't know that we could do that. Okay.
Yeah, you can go to the menu here. Once you put in dbcc.net, all you have to do is you can add it to the home screen with a plus, or you can make a separate bookmark on it. That's what I did. I added it to the home screen, and then you can move it around to wherever you want it on your desktop. Okay?
Wonderful. And I can actually do it to my home computer as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, very nice. Hey, I learned something big today. Thank you.
Right. It's a one-stop, deal. So it makes it all very simple.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to unshare it right now. Give me 1 second here. We go back to our meeting. Okay, it was a pleasure seeing all of you today. And let me get my background here from the condo. Let's see. Better than seeing a fan for a long time. There's my keyboard, my pride and joy that I hope to be using to make some money in the future. I got plenty to do here. Keep occupied. I'd like to give you an update on Beverly. Those of you who not Irving's Beverly, but the Beverly that I was with for 20 years, she's finally lost 100% of her memory and she's going into a institution. She's with her children right now in Orlando, and the house will probably be sold on the market very soon. So it's a tragedy, but that's one that all of us have to face. Some of us have personal effect from this, but that's the way life is. I give it one day at a time, one crisis at a time as the president of the club. So help me out. Help me out with those flyers. I'm going to be changing them for the summer. And we're going to be doing articles for the Reporter, which is available online at cvereporter.com. You can see all the online newspapers. You don't have to be a member of Century Village. That's open to the general public. You could also, for today's presentation, as I said, go to YouTube, go to apple.com There are tons of presentations in there. So I want to thank all of you for attending, wish you the best of health. If you're going, I believe the next class, April 7th, Passover begins before that. So I wish you Chag Sameach Pesach und ein Süßen Pesach, which is really happy and healthy. And it's a good holiday. It's a nice holiday to celebrate with friends. We have a Seder meal. The Seder is the Hebrew word that means order, and everything is ordered around a Seder plate. And of course, we all know that Easter is very important to many. And if you're an atheist, I'm sorry, we don't have any holidays for you. I really shouldn't say that because I do not believe in discriminating against people for any reason, gender, ethnicity, religion, anything else. They're all God's children and they deserve respect. And to that, I say goodbye to all of you until 2 weeks when Sue Mueller is going to present all about genealogy. Talk it up. I'll bet you we could get 50 or 60 people to attend. These meetings are very important. And by the way, if you want another example of genealogy, go to PBS and look at Finding Your Roots. That's a very, very free program, I believe it is, Finding Your Roots. And they interview someone all the time, movie stars, celebrities, musicians, whoever it is, and they're amazed at what they find in their roots. So that being said, thank you everybody, Helene and company, for participating. It's been a pleasure. And let's say goodbye to each other until 2 weeks.
Thank you. Thank you, Barry.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.